earGROUND Radio. New voices amplified.
Black a royal generation with no equal. Mr. Government, you know we're in a pickle. Where a chance of rising up is cementable. Take your place in this front line. Raising up the base of our drum line. This is not a race, it's a timeline. Controlling your pace like the fine wine. Sipping mizo yogutanda, nehanda. Sipping mizo yogutanda, nehanda. Sipping mizo yogutanda, nehanda. Sipping mizo yogutanda. Build your stone house, no mortar and no sigil. Pleasant conversation dissecting this evil. Black and proud is culminating, we are equal. Cut the color separation to the middle. Take your space in this front line. Raising up the bass of our drum line. Take your space in this front line. Raising up the bass of our front line.
Greetings, thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to earGROUND New Voices Amplified. My name is Plot Marco and welcome to the program that gives you some of the amazing voices and talents from Zimbabwe. And today I'll be speaking to an artist, a beatboxer, a musician, a producer. He does so many things. He's a versatile, multifaceted creative. His name is VERSELESS. Welcome to earGROUND.
Was good.
I'm good. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be on the program.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. VERSELESS, we know you. I know you for so many reasons. I saw you the first time beatboxing. Later on, I saw you sing. Next, I see you producing. And before we get into the details of the project that we're going to be talking about, just tell us a bit about VERSELESS. Who is VERSELESS?
VERSELESS is my producer moniker. So in terms of production, that's what I call myself. So I'm mainly a music producer. And I have incorporated a lot of my other musical talents, such as beatboxing, into my production. So a lot of my beats usually involve my beatboxing. So to keep it simple, yeah, that's VERSELESS. And I'm terrible at writing verses. That's another reason.
But take us back into time, like you as a kid. What started to give you sort of a sense of music or imagination or an interest in music?
I blame my dad because my dad taught himself to play keyboard by ear. So he used to play some certain songs that he loved. And through that, I just started fiddling around on the keyboard bit by bit throughout junior school and a little bit even through high school. I just started learning piano, be it casually or formally, from high school when the new ideas started to come up. So I guess that's early VERSELESS started. I was still called DJ Philo back then, even though I wasn't a DJ. Go figure.
Nice one.
Yeah.
From Philo to VERSELESS, what was the transition?
So essentially it was, I was trying to find there's two things actually. One was just, there were actually too many Philos on the internet. So it was difficult for people to find what I was doing and what I was working on. And then essentially at that time, particularly, there was a really big DJ, if I'm not mistaken, was big in the States called DJ Philo or Philo, which are same spelling. But so I just said, you know what, let me rebrand. But at the same time, I didn't want to be associated with being a DJ when DJing was one of the assets of what I was doing. It wasn't the main one. So I decided to go with VERSELESS because I was going through a little phase in terms of like me trying to figure out who I was and what I was good at. So like even my Facebook profile changed at that time. So it was voiceless because I didn't really have a sound. Then visionless, I didn't know where I was going with it. And then verseless now is because I don't know how to write lyrics, and I guess it stayed there. So,
quite interesting there. But I remember the first time that I saw you, I think you were at African University and you were performing at the Channel O hip hop tour. And you were beatboxing, and that was my first time having an encounter with beatboxing. And it blew my mind. You know, when I speak to other people,
I can definitely say I was one of the earlier guys.
you are actually
one of the earliest
beatboxing museum. But do you still beatbox?
Of course, I definitely do. Just I haven't done beatboxing shows, but if the invitation it has to be beatboxing beats. So that's basically it.
Nice one. Now you're into production. What are some of the productions that you've done? Like some of the highlights from your production work?
So I tried to form a crew at one point in time, and a crew for me is what really like gave me like my juice in terms of production. But I'm still cool with everyone. It's just one of those things where the crew itself could not sustain itself. But from Mile to Marcus to Fluid to even Sibo's latest songs last year, Ubu, Ru, my biggest placement was Burna Boy on his early album, this last one's like maybe 3 albums back. So I've done quite a bit.
Did I get you right there? You say you work on some project with Burna Boy?
Yeah, it was like in the I can't remember what album it was, but it was a song called Single featuring Wizkid.
Wow. But how does it feel now? I mean, you look at the African giant and you see yourself as one of the people that worked with him in his early years. What does that make you feel?
I'm very happy for what he has done. That's definitely like it's actually amazing how he's managed to transition himself into the person that he is now, the artist that he is. So I guess for me, it's one of those things where I know what I'm doing is good, I guess. I think that's the sort of tick of assurance, but that's as much as I get from that, Yeah.
Great. And recently, sometime last year, you were the executive producer for Freedom, the album, an album that was produced by Magamba Network, support from our Accountability Lab, that brought together some 10 amazing voices from Zimbabwe. And I watched some of the videos of how they were selected. I was like, wow, this was really an interesting process. But what struck my mind is how diverse every artist sounds and how you manage to manage that diversity in the production. Can you just take us through the production process, what was involved, and you as the executive producer, how much input did you put into the project?
So in terms of music production for the whole project, I did most of it. There's only one other producer that jumped in, and he did one song and assisted on 2. And then, so apart from that, I produced the whole project. And the idea was I was brought on because I'm one of those producers who is multifaceted in genres. So I don't just stick to one, as much as, let's say, someone like Oskid, who's like a dancehall the dancehall bad man, right? I am the kind of person who dabbles. I can do a bit of R&B, I can do a bit of hip hop. If someone wants a kizomba beat, I can come up with something because I've kind of listened to those genres and broke them down into what makes them what they are. So I can kind of recreate that in a sense, even despite not listening to the genre as like my favorite genre. Like R&B is not my favorite, but I can still understand how to make R&B record. So it's basically went to the project to learn.
Oh, great. To those that are watching, since apologies where our connection doesn't look good, but we're going to try and fix everything. But still looking at the album, the project Freedom, how did you connect to the songs that the artists were producing?
They tell me what they want to try and do. That's the most important thing. Just their message, the vibe, even genre sometimes. And then what I would do is I would try one, recreate it in the way that they would feel comfortable, but at the same time, recreate it in the way that they've challenged. So I don't want it to be just straightforward, like exactly as they want. Sometimes the challenge is useful. It's helpful because they'll be like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And it ends up being a better project. Yeah. So I guess that's the main thing. I understand what they want to try and do first. And then from there, let's move on to really challenging ourselves, really, just to get the best product.
Oh, great. And what are you currently working on? What's on your plate?
Lots of things, actually. As much as I'm very quiet, I don't really come out, shouting out, new dancehall rhythm and all these things. not that kind. But I'm one of those people who as me as a producer, I'm also kind of like an artist. So I have songs that I've been working on even this whole year, the whole of last year even, where I, like, for example, soft dropped a song on my Instagram. It's like soft drop because it's actually not the official drop. I just wanted to get some feedback from the people that are close to my circles about it. And yeah, I've got actually two big projects I'm going to release. One is a mixtape, and that one's going to be a full big album, which is about 25 tracks.
Oh, interesting. And looking at this Zimbabwean sound, I know this is a question that has always been popping up so many times. Do you think we have what it takes, or we are on the right course in terms of having that sound and being able to take it globally?
I would say the Zimbabwean music industry in general has improved vastly over the years. So in terms of direction, yes, we're going in the right direction. What I would suggest is not even a thing that the industry is not doing right or anything, but I would suggest people to be a bit more brave. Why I say so is because I've noticed that the industries that have a lot of that brave characteristic in their creatives, even in their promoters of the creatives, tends to actually be a whole need for movement. So that with it was quite initially. You know what I mean? They've always had something coming up. Even in terms of UK, same thing. They've had grime, they've had garage, they've had two-step, they've had drill, they've had drum and bass, dubstep. All these genres are them just doing what they do best in their own little circles, and then eventually it comes the. So that's the only thing I'll say. So even like Zim dancehall could be a whole new hybrid dancehall that could be completely new to what it is now, as an example.
Great. And on your playlist, I know you're working with so many artists, but obviously there are a couple of artists that you could be playing currently. Who is on your playlist if you were to pick like 3 artists?
Oh yeah, that's like where I show my true colors as a musician. I listen to anything, like literally anything, and people will not know most of the artists that I listen to. That's the funny thing. So right now I'm listening to a European band called Momendy, like a rock metal-ish band. I'm also listening to this UK guy called JME. And then I'm listening to, I'm trying to think of the last one, which is quite on my radar at the moment. I actually went back to listen to Dr. Dre, the classic albums. Right. But in terms of like local, I think my favorite person, those are my favorite sort of people that I've been listening to now is a guy called Ishe. Denny Woods,
Wow,
and
it's dope.
Obi Davids, and Mitch. Yeah, I'm listening to those guys a lot more these days, just naturally, just to try and figure out what they're about and what they're trying to do. That's
Wow, great. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the time that you took to be on earGROUND. How can artists, other producers, and anyone else who wants your service to get in touch with you? Where do they connect with you? Great.
Sorry, it's VERSELESS1, Instagram or Twitter. So VERSELESS1.
Wow, thank you so much. Wow, it's been awesome. It's been great. I've been speaking there to a producer, artist, multi-talented artist. He's still performing, he's still doing music. And there's a project that you guys did with Caroline Massa and Jebe Monks. Sometime it should be 2016 at the Shoko Festival. I don't know if you remember. That was epic. Are there any plans to continue that project?
I wish we could. I think it just went quiet after that, but it's one of those projects that I think can always be rejuvenated, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and it's been awesome. It's been great having Verseless Final on the program, and I hope those that want to get in touch with you definitely do so. Check out his stuff. Where do people check out your music?
Anything that I post on my Instagram is something that's available, because at the end of the day, I produce others. So yeah, so you get to see where most people's stuff is from there. Yeah.
Awesome. So until next time, stay tuned. earGROUND, New Voices Amplified. I'm out.